Hey, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. This is Bill Fanning. Just going to give everybody a minute or two to come into the room and then we'll get going. So thanks everyone for making time. Let's see, let everybody in. And hopefully everybody can see my screen and looking forward to today's conversation. Um, Excited to talk a little bit more about the kind of the inflection point between AI and the human aspect. So it's going to wait like one more minute, let folks make it through the uh, AI process, Zoom process, and then we'll get up and running. So again, glad everybody's here. Okay, well, I think we've got uh, everybody in. Still a couple more coming. Um, Definitely excited to get going. Uh, Everybody in. An odd thing today because I don't normally use my Ymail account. It's mostly for well, at this point in Ymail, it's mostly for spam. But it's blown my mind that it's been Yahoo or Yahoo Mail has been down for quite a while, which is not yeah, still down. Never experienced that before. It's always been a very consistent mail thing. Um, so yeah, that was a technology glitch that I would not have expected from them. So glad you guys are here. And so over the course of the remainder of the summer, what I've tried to do is just put together some discussions for the talk community where we can take some time and focus on some areas that I thought would be important. I tried to go through our forum and conversations we were having and put together some areas that I thought would be relevant to talk about. And this is one that's been very that I've seen talked about, but it's also really interesting to me because there's such a push to automate different parts of the candidate journey via AI. And I find that really interesting. Um, but then the part that I've always thought about is, well, where does the human part go to? Because for me, that's always been the part of the process that I found most valuable is where I can talk to somebody, I can learn from them rather than interacting with a scheduling bot or a asynchronous interview, video interview, things of that nature. So that's kind of trying to do a little bit of research, put some data together, and hopefully we can have an interesting conversation about that. So I'm glad you guys are all here. And I think I've let everybody in. So as I always ask, if you're able to turn your camera on, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. It makes it a little more of a conversation. If you're eating lunch or you can't, totally get it. I've been in that situation. I'm excited to have the conversation. So again, there's no vendors here. So it's uh, just an opportunity for us as a community to talk about some relevant topics that I think are top of mind for a lot of us. And hopefully we can have some fun. If you are coming to us from LinkedIn, super easy to join. There's a link to come in and become part of the talk community. Please feel free to do so. And again, no cost, just pick your geographic location, put in your LinkedIn URL, and we'll be off to the races. We are going to start a monthly roundtable conversation just kind of an ask me anything. We're going to start in September. Got some feedback that August was probably not a great time to start that, since a lot of people are off on their holiday journeys, which I am definitely starting to look forward to because ours is coming up in a couple weeks. It's funny trying to arrange kids' calendars, going back to school, coming home from college, and trying to find like a week that we can all be together is getting harder and harder. But looking forward to this. And again, this is an opportunity just to get together and, like we're doing today, but to continue throughout the year, just talk about key topics that we can submit and put our thoughts and combined experiences together on. Hang on one sec. I got over clicky. So, only thing I wanted to mention is RecFest. If anybody has not been to it, this is by far one of my favorite conferences. It's not in Las Vegas, it's in Nashville. It's not indoors, it's outside. So you're in shorts and a t-shirt walking around. It's really fun. It's kind of like a carnival meets a conference. And what I've liked about it is that there's just a ton of TA practitioners, and the content that's being shared to me has been really relevant and very good to become part of the discussion rather than, I mean, I don't want to say anything. Ari, I love that picture. My favorite movie, by the way, Office Space, but
You're
I love
welcome.
that picture. Thank you. Yeah. I was actually just watching I was just watching the discussion with the Bobs the other day, like, Bob, that'll only make work. It's just hard enough not to get fired. So I love that consulting part of it. So, so yeah, if you're interested in a great experience, it's a lot of fun, and I just wanted to bring that up. So, has anybody been to Breakfast? Yeah, perfect. That's them. Those are the folks I like.
I come
Uh,
prepared.
you really did. I love it. But anyways, if you haven't been, check it out. Really really a fun event. And I only promote that because a lot of us talk or ask questions about different events in the industry that people like. And I always like to promote this one because it's just super different and unique. All right, so we were going to talk. So this is kind of fun. I asked AI to show me an AI hiring team with no people involved. And this is what Sora, which is part of ChatGPT, put together. But it's not 100% what I want. What I really wanted to talk about was where that connection point is between the AI aspect and the human component. I tried to put together some data. I'll share it with you guys at the end. I usually do a bunch of research, but I don't make it available easily because it's just scribbled in a notebook. But I actually put it into a document, so you guys can, all the stuff I share with you, all the links and everything that you guys can go look at. So it's definitely available. So that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. I didn't want to ask AI that though. Go away. I was going to talk a little bit of the growth of AI, but before we did, I just wanted to run a quick survey because this is a question that I was kind of asking myself. So I wanted to ask everybody here. And let me go find it so I can run it. There we go. Polls and quizzes. So this is a question that I've been thinking about, and it's interesting to me. It's what part of the hiring process would you never fully hand over to AI? I think in a lot of the conversations I've been seeing on LinkedIn and happening, we talk about the parts of the conversation we would definitely give to AI. But I'm really interested on the other spectrum is where would we never hand that over? So I'd love to get your thoughts on that because I think that's a little bit of the genesis for this discussion. I'll let it run for 15 more seconds. And if you get a chance to go in and select one or two, go for it. And then I will share the results with everybody. All right, so I am going to end the poll, sharing the results. So when we look at this, I think we can see, and it's kind of what I thought, interviewing and the final selection, I think a lot are, that's an area where the human aspect really sits into that. but it's kind of I think when I look at the market and I see what people are using AI most for, sourcing candidates, scheduling interviews, assessing and screening are certainly areas. But when it comes down to the actual interview process, final selection, we can receive assistance, but we can't turn that over to AI. So thanks everybody for taking a moment to fill that out. So I did a little bit of research around just what the growth of AI looks like, right? So started thinking about okay, when at least for me anyways, I feel like I see and hear a lot from the different folks that are in the industry or what's going on LinkedIn or conferences. But these are some numbers that I pulled together that are fairly accurate. So organizations today, and this is really over 1,000 employees that are using AI in some facet of their hiring position process. Um, Almost 70%. I think we can all think about that. Now, what this isn't, it is not ChatGPT. It is using a purchased, subscribed to SaaS-based AI solution as part of your hiring process. If we were to add ChatGPT into this, I think we'd be at 100% because I think we all use it in some way, shape, or form. But I thought that was really interesting. When we think about the Fortune 500 that are using AI in some part of their hiring process, according to the surveys I saw, it's about 99% of the Fortune 500 are doing that. Last year, spend on AI was about 1.5 billion. I've got, or I saw online, very conflicting projections for 2025. I think we can turn on the news if we want to listen to crazy mathematical projections. So I'm not going to go there. This is all I can find that was relevant data. And then when I started thinking about, okay, well, that's great. Where are the three places that organizations are using it? And based on the survey feedback I received, about 82% of the organizations using AI are using it for resume screening. About 64% of those saying they're using it are using it for sourcing, skills assessment, and then 42% are using it for sourcing. So I'm curious here. I just wanted to ask everybody who's on here, this is kind of generalized data. It's a mix of vendor survey data and industry data. Um, but I'm really curious when you look at your hiring process, are you using AI and where are you using it? I'm curious from your perspective how this fits, if this reflects kind of your world.
Um, so in my personal experience, I've only really been using it when it comes to um I'll sometimes use ChatGPT to kind of enhance like because I what I normally do is I do a type up on someone's bio when I'm submitting it to a hiring manager, right? And ChatGPT saves a lot of time when it comes to coming up with a formalized bio. So I basically what I tell GPT is to clean up these notes and then they kind of make it saves a ton of time rather than just typing it up and writing a whole tidbit every single time yourself and editing for grammar and such, right? So it's helped a lot in that sense. The other part is sometimes I'll ask ChatGPT on maybe more just understanding a particular discipline or role. So I'll be like, if I'm looking for someone with a particular certification I want to source, I'll be like, oh, what other occupations have the certification? Or
Yeah,
is this same that so that kind of questions to learn about the disciplines that I'm recruiting for it sometimes. And sometimes that's not even going out of my way to use ChatGPT. That's actually just going to Google, but now Google search auto defaults to their own AI tool, right? As you know. Um, the one thing though I can't really see happen, I mean, at least my understanding right now, is that even with sourcing and screening or having the AI review resumes, I still think while it could be helpful, it's probably runs a risk because like I mean you guys I'm assuming most if not all of you use LinkedIn, right? Or LinkedIn Recruiter. And if you subscribe to like their alerts saying like, oh, 25 matches in X area that fit what you're looking for, most of you probably know that when you're sifting through those algorithm searched profiles, a lot of them aren't a fit. They assess it based on some keywords or what you've been using, but you guys know that's not perfect. That's not going to replace someone actually reviewing profile to profile, at least for now. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, that's be very sophisticated for it to not be otherwise, right? So even if you're having it review resumes, like, you run the risk of letting a lot of different applications of resumes slip through the cracks because maybe they didn't meet a particular keyword or whatever the algorithm's using right now, right? So that's when I think, like, I can't see, along with the interaction with the applicant and the candidate and facilitating offers, like, along with that, it's just not there, So
No, I agree
that
with you, and I think
yeah.
that's a really interesting observation on LinkedIn. Their approach to that, and this is my experience, so I'm not, I mean, certainly could not speaking for LinkedIn, but that's not AI, that's just simple keyword matching. That's been
Yeah.
around forever. And there's no validation or process around the keywords that are there in a lot of the people I interact with on LinkedIn. So it's very easy for that to be a little misleading when you're looking at applicants. The other thing that's very interesting is the jobs that, like, I always leave that on because it cracks me up, the jobs it tells me I'm a perfect fit for,
Yeah.
um, which a lot of them end up somehow in the medical field, which I'm just going to clearly put on, this is being recorded. I should never be in the medical field. That is not a background or skill set for me. So, but it blows my mind that it's being put under that AI umbrella, right? And we start thinking about that as an AI capability when it's just really simple keyword matching. But I definitely agree with you that that there's a very easy way uh, to introduce bias that way, right? Because in my past, I've worked in an AI industry and a platform that did sourcing and matching, and we had a very rich and deep taxonomy capability to do exactly what you just said, Samir, which is look at a skill set. Like for once, we helped a pharmaceutical company open their plant back up by connecting them to the local plumbers union. I say, oh, why does pharmaceutical company need plumbers? Well, because their production facility, their manufacturing plant needed people to go in and fix the plumbing to make everything work. And it worked out great. But at a high level, they couldn't figure out who to hire because they had all these crazy skill sets and names that nobody took the time to break down and say, okay, well, what does that really mean? What do I really need to, who do I really need to walk in this door and fix this? So I totally get that. Ryan, great thoughts that using it more for data analysis and job descriptions, um, and that you have any way. Would you mind if you feel comfortable sharing that ATS system? I'm always curious what people are using. Not
Yeah,
to,
we just switched to Pinpoint, and I've reviewed every ATS. I think I've implemented every ATS I feel like that exists as well. It's on a good cost, but they actually have, and I don't want to call it AI, but they have automated features in there. So like
yeah,
if something happens, you can automate things, which is beautiful because we do a lot of high volume recruiting. So we're in the process, but they were like, hey, do you want to turn on resume scanning? And as everybody knows, everybody's applied for a job here, and you try to parse your resume over. Most ATSs can't even parse a resume, so how can you trust it to scan a resume? And in my view, I feel like you're a lazy recruiter if you're using, AI to scan resumes. Like at the end of the day, like it takes whatever 20 minutes to run through your resume probably in the morning. So we turned it off. But yeah, we went with Pinpoint, and like I said, it's a different platform, but it offers a lot, and they're getting better. So that's why we went with it.
awesome. Yeah, I've heard some good things. Now they're out of the UK, right?
They might be, but like a lot, I'm working with only US people, so
Yeah.
thankfully.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome. Well, it's good to hear. When I mean, one of the things that I've always found as a potential fit when I think about the growth of AI is sourcing. And the reason I think about that, and I'm sure we can all agree that the job board industry is kind of crazy right now. The fact that Monster and Career Builder are on somebody's balance sheet now for being bought as assets blows my mind. As somebody, which I'm not going to put a date to it, but at one point worked at Monster, because that would make me seem older than I actually am. But yeah, I mean, how the area that I think AI could be really, I have always been impressed by its opportunity is to source. So I'm curious if who's using it for sourcing, and is it delivering a broader spectrum of folks into your hiring funnel. I've always been, because I think our online presence as individuals is growing, so the sourcing capabilities should be growing as well. So I'm curious, how has that been working for in your individual talent departments? Are you guys sourcing with it?
I use it for sourcing, but for me, it's hit or miss depending on the positions. So typically, if I'm looking for something specific that requires certifications, I get good candidates. But if it's something more general, it's all over the place and not necessarily a match. So it's kind of like a work in progress. But that indeed, they keep telling us that the more you use the algorithm, the more it's going to learn. But it's not a perfect process yet, and maybe never will be.
No, it does. I mean, the logic behind that makes sense, that the more you use an AI engine, the smarter it becomes. But on the generalized roles, it does have less. I mean, the more specialized points, and I learned this in my AI background, the more specific the role, specificity drives AI matching. So the more specific that job description can be, the faster and more accurately it can match. When it's a generalized job description, it looks, everybody's a match. So that's a very good point. Yeah. Now, side note, does Indeed let you run those learning searches or matches for free, or do they?
No,
I know that.
I have a
I
subscription.
know. Yeah. Are you guys using it to? How about on writing? Yeah, Ryan, I'm 100% with you on that. They don't do anything for free. I have to get one Indeed joke in a webinar. You guys using it to write job? Anyone using ChatGPT to write job descriptions or modify the job posting that's going out to places?
Yeah, I definitely do, Bill. So we have like really specific job descriptions. And when I
Right.
started here, they were using them as the job posting. And it was like it was kind of a nightmare because people don't read. And two, they were just a lot of things in there. So I've built this kind of, I don't know, like thing within my AI that I have that it knows my like kind of the way I want it, the format, the way I want it, the
Yeah.
sections that it needs. And all I have to do is literally upload in the actual job description, and then we'll put in like better keyword searches and things like that. It puts it in a better format for me, simplifies them, makes them shorter. And it was a big haul because we had a lot of jobs, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. And now we're to a point I really like, if there's something new that comes up, it's cool. But like it really, I'm not a writer. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like it helps a lot. So it's really big because in our industry, in oil and gas, we have a lot of regulations. So we have to make sure that we cover the right stuff in a job description and are just very transparent about stuff. So
Yeah, we use it too because we have extremely long job descriptions, and just to even identify of the 87 qualifications that we want, how to like screen accordingly, I'll use ChatGPT to, these are the key things they told me in the kickoff. What are some things I should ask? We're not limiting, we're trying to move down our job description. So in terms of just AI in general, Greenhouse offers scorecard AI summaries now, which is super helpful because we do pretty detailed notes, and it'll kind of summarize everyone's notes, and it will also share what people agreed on and where there were disagreements. So it's really simplifying the time to work through like the misalignments and saving time for kickoff. So I've really appreciated, or for debriefs, because we're really able to kind of highlight from that summary what's going on with that. And then LinkedIn sourcing up, I'm trying to use more of, but because we have such niche roles, some of the candidates really fit and some just are not a fit at all, but they just have a certain keyword that I put in. But it's been fun to play around with, and we're trying to continually add more of it into our process to simplify things.
Yeah, it definitely does a good job simplifying it. And that's really, so Chelsea, question, does the greenhouse scorecard help get the notes in? That, because that was always my challenge, is it's
It
awesome
will,
to,
no, I still have to hunt down people to put their notes in. It sends the
yeah,
reminders, but I have to be a hunter for that. But
yeah,
once they're in, I used to have to open every single scorecard and kind of look, and now it shows them all. I finally upgraded my greenhouse like a month ago. I was on the legacy and now I moved over, but it now will like place them all on like one page, and then it'll it'll take everyone's feedback and summarize what everyone thought and then tell you what everyone agreed on and what are there were misalignments, which I just really appreciate because obviously the misalignments is really what we focus on, and it's just been an easier way to find gaps in what we're doing, but still have to push those reminders out and track people down, which is why I'm thankful I have Slack, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was always the like, it was great when the data was in there. I mean, it's better with the scorecard tool, but it was always the constant reminder emails like, "Hey, I know you interviewed him, but you gotta put your notes in." Or her, but
Daily challenge here.
daily challenge, yeah. And Matt, that's a great observation that the AI engines, um, when it's a generalization across roles, so my experience and is that the AI then starts looking that everybody's a fit. So when I had and was working with people, when I received a job description, we had an AI tool. I kind of focused or tried to focus the hiring manager on, can you give me some specifics? Because the more specifics we put in, the better this is going to source on your behalf. Otherwise, you're going to get just a plethora of people with hit or miss matching. So, so definitely see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you using any tools to source with Matt that are AI focused?
We've tried to implement a couple of efforts, but that's where we run into always the challenge is that all these sites, all these tools, they all say, oh, well, the more that you put into training it, the better it will be.
Yeah.
Yes, but the challenge with the tools that I have found is that they just they can't. It doesn't seem to understand, and it's too hard to just by rating resumes or stuff like that for it to really grasp what is important with this role and what it and not to generalize it across roles. Some things you want it to learn generalized, and some things you want it to learn specific, but it doesn't do that well on the traditional way you train it. And so I see these things like the vendors and such, like for like Indeed or LinkedIn or something, and say, oh, we'll just use it more and it'll get smarter. Well, to a degree, but then it just starts stumbling over itself because it doesn't know, oh, well, that was specific for this role and it wasn't for the next. And that's where I've just always ran into the challenge with trying to get these systems up and really being a useful tool. The potential's there. That just seems to be that the training just doesn't quite, it gets them about 50%, 75% there, not to the point where your time is really being saved hugely, unless you're just doing high volume and you just want to just
fill the coffers with people. Yeah. And that's what I mean. And quite frankly, I think that's a lot of the use cases I see online or on in forums and LinkedIn is that the majority of the people promoting AI for hiring seem to all be in the high volume bucket. So that's a good observation. I tried to, from the data I looked at, here's where I was seeing impact. Spell check, just so I'm going to go on the record and say spell check was not an AI automated process. I had to click the button and I failed to do so. So automated should be automated. But this is what happens when I type with less coffee than I should have. But this is what I saw from the data I was looking at, that sourcing talent across platforms using profiles and natural language processing. I still think that there's a lot of data models out there that are flawed and not on purpose, but they're biased, and they looking at data and past hiring performance and things of that nature can quickly and easily introduce racial, ethnic, and gender bias. I don't know that to be true. I know there's a lot of people saying they're not, but Matt, to your point, there's a lot of vendors out there building technology. It's awesome technology, but it's only as awesome as the data model it's working off of. And that's where the challenge comes in. Because a lot of times it looks inwardly of, oh, let me parse your past hires. And that's where the bias comes about. Automated resume screening and candidate ranking. I'm a big believer in looking at the resumes, but I think that some of the assistive, like when we think about AI, it can really sit in two camps. It can be assistive AI or selecting AI. I'm not a big fan of selecting AI, but I do appreciate assistive AI tools that can, based on criteria that is in the job description, take 100 applications. I'm still going to look at them all because it's relevant, but it tells me where to start and gives me some ranking understanding. I think the chatbots for QA and interview scheduling are awesome. I know interview scheduling can be a little nuanced, and being able to mix that in with multiple calendars is awesome. I also think, personally, there's a lot of applicants with questions, and a chatbot that can answer some general questions quickly and create that immediacy of response is a really nice employer branding thing. And I think the video assessments or assessments with scoring is great. And I think there's a lot of people coming out with interview intelligence products. Humanly, which is a sponsor of Talk, is just launching their interview intelligence platform. I actually interviewed with it yesterday, and it was fun. I enjoyed it, but there's like after each question, there's a 30-second pause where the AI person just goes and then starts talking. And that's a little weird. Like I feel like it's like I feel like you're very judgy. Are you judging me? Was that a bad answer? So but that's what I came with. So that's how I see AI impacting it. So I was thinking here, as we're thinking about this, is there any area that you guys feel like, I'm curious, like you're using a bunch of vendors. I'm sure they ask you from time to time, potentially, what the, or hopefully Greenhouse, I know, does a good job of this, where they want the product to go. But where are some of the things that you think you see AI having an opportunity to have real big impact?
Well, I'm kind of curious what the group thinks of just the interview note-taking tools, as that is, just writing up, getting all the notes down, writing them up afterwards. That's just, to me, it's the biggest time suck in my day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop doing phone screens and actually start doing video off. We use Google Meets because Google Gemini will transcribe all those notes, and it would save me so much time because and I could automatically just put them in, which would be nice because you're right, it does take up so much time. And I like to transcribe like everything the candidate says. So I think that would be awesome to be able to focus more on the candidates while that note taking is happening instead of doing both at one time.
Yeah, I moved to the online note taking, whether it's WebEx, their AI, we're one of those that still uses that, or Otter AI if I'm on a call, but I have to give them notice and I'm recording the call. What I've seen are those like MetaView and some of the other ones that have built out. I haven't seen much success with those because I feel like there's a certain cadence to the calls that's not getting the questions and the answers as well. I kind of like the free form that I have, and using one of those tools to just transcribe and then loading it into a site to get the concise information that I need.
Yeah. One of the things, I think you're right on the MetaView and some of the challenges they have following the conversation. The one thing that I do like MetaView does, and Chelsea, this is specifically to Greenhouse, they put all the notes from the interviews directly into the ATS system under the applicant. So you don't have to chase the hiring manager to do it.
That's nice to know.
Yeah. I mean,
Someone
like,
told me about that recently. METAVUE.
Yes.
It just doesn't work with every system. Like if you give a person the option of a web chat, which a web virtual interview, whether it's Google Meets, WebEx, Teams, any of those, or a phone call, it's kind of tough which system you're going to use. I haven't found one that works if you're doing a virtual phone call, no video, just calling over Teams or calling over WebEx. I haven't found one that does a good job on that one.
Well, I actually have used MetaView for that. It does do for a phone call.
Does it?
Yeah, which is, I still find candidates, given the option, they'll 7 out of 10 times will select at least in my industry, select a phone interview over a video.
Yeah.
But don't you have to set up the screen as first so that you get the correct information, or does it do the free form? I didn't see that it gave me the answers that I needed or the transcription that I needed.
MetaView, you can set your own template, or you can use their default templates for it. So it does give you both options.
But you have to preset it, correct? If you're
Or
doing
it has a default one you can use.
And
You
then you
you
have to
can
ask
have
the
a
way
free
that
conversation, just like a Q&A, and it'll break it out by your questions and the answers. Or you can say, hey, I want it to tell me about, I want to know kind of the project experience. Tell me in this conversation, pick out these pieces of information.
Yeah.
So
That's why I wasn't getting the stuff I needed. That one.
Yeah. I mean, I found Otter a little more accurate, which is kind of important, accuracy. So, but I haven't found one that I think is like everything. Like, oh, this is, I don't know. I haven't used enough. I've only used probably about 4 different systems. So
Yeah. I think they're all on the path of getting to be everything. They're learning and building, and the good news is they can build it quickly. Just on a side note, quick shout out for Fathom. I use Fathom, and I love it. Like Otter AI, it works really well. It works great on phone calls, as long as it's connected to however I'm doing the VoIP call. But it is
What's it
great for
called?
me because Fathom, it's the note taker I have. For me, it's in the upper. You'll see it says Talks Note Taker,
Yeah.
but it's just Fathom. It's pretty cost effective. I think it was like it's under $200 for the year for just one person. But what I like about it is it does a really good job of breaking down, because I've tried Otter, I've tried Firefly, I tried a bunch of them. I found Fathom does a really good job of not just doing a transcript, but giving me the key breakdown, action items, and steps. It missed the least out of the different tools that I tried, and I really like it. But that's not to say that those tools haven't caught up and now do a phenomenal job. I mean, Zoom has an AI transcription tool directly in it as well. So, I mean, that it could be, they could all be comparable now. But when I made the decision for Fathom about 18 months ago, it was based on some of the other tools not being as accurate as I would have liked them to have been. But that's interesting. Outside of MetaView, what other tools have we tried to use in that transcription or intelligence? Had anyone used Pillar? I mean, they're now part of Employ, but I know Mark Simpson and his team, I believe, had a pretty good product at one point. Are there any other tools you guys are using in that area? Well, hopefully my gut, similar to what Employ did with Pillar, is they will become part of, or ATS systems will have that interview intelligence more organically in their platform than a third party interface. All right, so I was trying to think of the candidate journey with and without AI. And so to me, these are what I saw as the other impact points, but it kind of was across the board where it could set up. The area that I like a lot, just because I think it's with resumes, it's getting crazier and crazier to see who's qualified and not, is the assessment process, both skill set and aptitude, attitude, things like that. Is that in the AI world? I think it's getting the summarization of that data back from somebody doing it, from the virtual capability of, like, for example, I just did Humanly's new product yesterday. There is no typing. It's a video interview with a avatar on the other side. I interviewed for an executive assistant. There was some good questions. Again, slight pause as the data was processed. I'm sure that will maybe in a production environment be much faster. But I'm curious, when we look at the skill assessment or the aptitude assessment, the AI capability of bringing the insights out of that experience seem really interesting to me. Is anyone using anything in that area? No. We did have a Maya Huber speak 2 weeks ago, and Maya has a product called Tatio, Taatio. I'm not endorsing them, by the way, but what I thought was really cool about their approach to the assessment process, and they do have AI in it natively in the platform, was just that it was just a quick assessment of, can person who applied for job A do it? Not what's their attitude, what's their processing, what's their, but it was just, hey, you applied for the job. If everyone's using ChatGPT to spiff up your resume, you're going to look awesome on paper, but can you actually do this? And I think that's a really interesting premise on terms of the ability to assess skill set, because there is, I don't know, I feel, oh, hang on, sorry, I'm not looking at the main chat. Um, uh, um, I think it's sometimes difficult to assess, and I've talked to a couple companies in kind of a supportive role, that's one of the areas they struggle with is, when the resumes come in. These were more for technical roles, so not high volume hiring. But when these technical resumes come in, they all look stellar. They look like they were handcrafted or handpicked to do this specific job forever. And so the skill set capability and testing is really important for them to test. So that is my learning there. When you look at this, and Matt, it is definitely not a straight line. But when you look at this, where are there other places in your unique candidate journeys that you have AI interaction with or supporting? And Ari, you had mentioned you're struggling with the IT team to allow access to most of the other tools. And I think Matt, you asked a question to that.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to answer that. It's they lock everything down here, unfortunately. I think it's more legal aspects. They don't want information being shared out there. And I just was blocked from Fathom as well. So I have to use it on my phone or my iPad in order to do stuff, which adds an additional step to my workflow half the times when I'm doing it. So I was just kind of curious. But you mentioned the other impacts here. I've been using it for the ranking system lately, scorecarding. I think to see if it aligns with what I'm thinking, because what you get back a lot of times, they're just looking at the hard skills. Whereas when you've talked to the person, you're going to get the culture of you that I still don't think they've perfected in AI yet.
Yeah, that is a good call out. The area that I really like or find interesting is the job posting capability. One of the things that I think more people are getting better at is a job posting needs to have some level of engagement. Needs to have some level of why would I take beyond the first paragraph? Why am I going to read this? And so I think that, and I'll use ChatGPT because we all have access to it, but I think they are getting better, or people are using it to make more engaging, more enticing job descriptions. Chelsea, you made a great point that you had 80 something skill sets that need to be in there, which is great to put in the job description, but somebody's got to want to read that far down. And some of the job descriptions I read, I'm like, nope, I already spent 10 years in the military. I know enough acronyms. I'm moving on. So I'm curious, to me, that's an area that I see easy wins. And Ryan, you mentioned that as well, that you redid a lot of your job descriptions with it. So to me, in other points of impact, I think that's the one area that I have seen, or I'm guessing I've seen a lot of people using it more and more, because a lot of the job descriptions that I see sound better, a little more intelligently written, coming out there. And the other area that I do like is Paradox has Olivia. There's a couple other ones out there, but it's the AI chat capability to give real-time feedback or real-time engagement, especially, and I know that's predominantly, I believe Paradox is mostly on high volume hiring, or they were, maybe they've expanded, but that's an area that I think that's really powerful as well.
The last company I worked about those chats, we built our own AI system. It was a marketing company. It was kind of cool. But internally, we uploaded all of our benefits, your handbook, every internal thing you could think of policy wise. And it actually helped streamline a lot of like, because HR just got slammed with stupid questions all the time. Like, and it actually was able to help reduce the amount, because we started tracking tickets and it helped reduce a lot of things. And then they were trying to get it eventually on the website. So people had questions about benefits of the company, but they had to like kind of scale it back a little bit because it got to like, it gets pretty in depth in terms of it, but it was
Yeah.
pretty interesting the chat that they created because we pretty much never had to answer a lot of things on HR because we could just say, hey, yeah, just go ahead and start talking to the chat and it will kind of take it away from there. And it was a really cool tool that they built.
Yeah, that's really valuable, especially for a good onboarding experience
Yeah.
and being able to be timely for that process. Prior to Talk, I had built a platform with a friend of mine for candidate engagement. Long story short, you apply for a job, you get a crappy email back. Most people, I don't know, realize that email, Greenhouse Law the other, that has a 4 out of 10 open rate. So we built a platform that would send a text, bring you to a dynamic portal and say, hey, Matt, so glad you applied for this position. Here's the time frame, here's the steps, blah, blah, blah. And it was funny because we thought that was awesome. And we got a couple enterprise customers who was like, wait a minute, you can send the right person the right benefits information. You can make sure that we don't send plan A to person B, and like a value proposition I had never thought of. And it was never even on our thought process of having value to the product. This company was like, we want it because we keep screwing that up. And it's causing more and more onboarding challenges than we want to deal with, which was really interesting. So, so I definitely think that the thing that your last company built sounds really interesting as well. Cool. So I tried to think about human touch. And these are the areas that I saw a little bit online and also kind of resonated with me is the cultural fit and candidate and branding of the our skills, cultural and skill set fit in a company. Just talking to somebody about that. Like I really like to have that conversation. One of the questions I always love to ask is, hey, in this role, I've read all the hard skills. What are the soft skills you think is going to make somebody successful in your company, right? The candidate experience, being able to get data and quick engagement, the right information, seeing the brand, things of that nature. Obviously, as you start talking more specifics about hiring somebody, you have to negotiate and craft a job offer based on certain capabilities. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is in a lot of these complex roles, I don't know if the AI models have developed far enough along to effectively score or rank candidates. So when you have a highly complex role, you're hiring for complex backgrounds. And Ryan, I know you do a lot of this, and you mentioned that you review all the resumes. I think this could be an area that really requires a person looking at the resume rather than AI. I mean, you certainly can initially score them, but I think when it comes to role complexity, somebody has to sit down and look that understands the complexity of the role to see if the person's a fit or not.
I also have a lot of jobs that people don't have resumes. So it's like at the end of the day, like we gotta figure other things out. I mean, in the other area, like I know the whole premise around this was like AI and human touch. We find that balance also around like onboarding, and that was a big thing for us with Pinpoint is it will automate a lot of things, but we still have we still have a balance of human touch because we have a lot of handholding, a lot of pre-appointment things that have to happen before, drug tests, MVRs, DOT regulations, all that kind of stuff. So there's a balance of human touch and AI that we have automated some communication, some text messages. On the other side, we still have a human being that can talk to them and has to call them and follow up and literally handhold people to do some things. So
Yeah, I could definitely see it. And that's like to me, mission critical because if you like, I don't know, I think the onboarding experience sometimes that in a valid way or invalid way sets the idea of what it's going to be like to work there. And if somebody has a bad onboarding experience, I've read data that people in the first 5 to 8 years of their career, they'll start looking for a job in 90 days, right? And turnover sucks. when you hire a good person to do the job and they leave. And so having a good onboarding experience obviously reduces the risk, not minimize, not eliminates it, but makes it smaller. Um, so people feel like the job that they thought they were getting is the job they got. Cool. All right. So this is data that I got online. So I asked myself, okay, where is AI delivering right now? I read a lot of things around hiring cycles that they can be up to 30 to 40% faster. I'll put dependent there because I think that was less technical, more high volume influenced. Efficiency and cost savings. I was reading a couple case studies that it cut the cost per hire 71%. But again, that was a retailer, so that's dependent data as well. Better matching. I will say out of the gate, this came from IBM. So whatever that means. But they were saying that their platform dramatically, like 30 to 40% increase in success predictions of somebody going into a job, and also increasing retention. Expanding the talent pools, I do believe that has an opportunity. We have TikTok, Instagram, Snap. Like there's so many different ways to reach people now that AI can help optimize and make easier. The improved candidate experience and scalability and consistency, and managing large scale hiring tasks. And again, I think all of that, a lot of it was driven by high volume hiring scenarios. But I'm curious if that's what I saw online from a number of sources. But I'm curious if you guys agree with that, or if anything stands out that's not probably on point. The one that kind of I wasn't like success prediction. I'm a little speculative on how. I guess I'd need to learn more about it before I would understand how good it does in predicting somebody's success in a role. Because to me, there's very hard, but also a lot of soft skills that come into that success. So anyways, that's what I found. And this is where I found AI challenges, bias and ethical concerns. From a survey, 45% expressed concern on age, gender, and race. I think that's dead on. I think it will get better through use and data models and its growth, but candidate trust and perception, a lot of AI, from what I've read, a lot of candidates don't trust AI. They'd rather talk to a real person, which goes back to that human touch. I think we've talked about this a little bit, but the lack of nuance and context come to role specificity, that it can't read between the lines yet. And so it struggles on some of those more complex interviews. This is an area that I think, because there's so many point solutions out there, that the ability to integrate, or for you to have the skill set to make it work. And the way I think about it is like, hey, that's a cool tool, but how's it going to integrate to my ATS system? How much work or time or cost is going to be behind this? And then the use case limitations. So those are the things. So we've got 5 minutes left. So what I did, and I will point this out, I used AI to help me. I took all of the data we just went through, and I turned it into a document. And you are more than welcome. It's you should be able to download it right out of Canva as a PDF. All the data's there. If any of you have any trouble sleeping tonight, I am going to help you out big time. You are going down like a redwood. Just pick that document up, start reading it, and you will be asleep. But I put this together because I wanted to share the context of where a lot of this data came from. And so I would say this is a 60-40, 40% me writing, 60% ChatGPT making it intelligible. So, but there's a lot of the sources and where this data came from is in there. And so hopefully that will be helpful. And yeah, I appreciate everyone's time and participating in this. Final question I had as we were thinking this, I guess for me, what the final question I had is like, what is the biggest fear that you have around AI as a tool in the hiring process? Is it job replacement? Is it doing something wrong? Like, I'm curious, like, I'm sure we've all thought about this, but what's the biggest concern that sits with you guys?
For me, I mean, I don't know if my function will ever be completely replaced. I think the human element is there, which I think
Yeah,
cannot be. That's that human touch. I think getting it wrong, I would say is one thing. Or I work for a small company, so if we invest in some piece of technology and it's a flop, it really doesn't bode well for trying to implement. Like, we can't just, okay, let's try something new, because we put all our chips in. So I think just getting it wrong, or perhaps we think it's going to do a lot and maybe it narrows the funnel too much. Maybe sourcing people or disqualifying people that maybe they should be there. So I don't know. That's what I think about from a small company perspective.
no, I think that's a great perspective. I think Ryan, you nailed it. The cost adds up quick. These
Yeah,
cost
there's lots
models
of
are these,
tools, but like, yeah, we want them all. But like, at the end of the day, like, there's only so many you can use. Not every company's opening up checkbook, for the HR department. And, on the other side, and I always, every time I'm on these calls, I always stress this to anybody in TA. If you're not looking at tools that integrate with your systems, you're just doing yourself, you're not doing any justice for your team, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have all these things outside. Everything needs to integrate with it, with your ATS or whatever system you're using, because if it's not, then you're just all these little silos and you're creating more work. So,
yeah,
we went with Pinpoint, and I'm looking at tools that I never looked at before, purely for the fact of integration, because I'm not going to work with any other company that doesn't integrate with it. So, because it doesn't make sense.
yeah,
That's why you got to use the right tools. Like Greenhouse is great. I've implemented. They integrate pretty much with everybody, but is everybody going to open up their checkbook to have Greenhouse, because it costs? And then you add on the other tools, $50,000 plus you're paying another, probably 20,000 in just tools that you want to integrate. So things add up real quick, unfortunately.
yeah. That's one of the things I called out for the AI's challenge is the integration and also the skill gap that you may need on your team to make that integration work, because a lot of them are not out of the box. Awesome. My thought on that, just since I asked a question, my biggest concern with AI today is overconfidence. I would be concerned that I would put an AI tool in place that would be doing things to support a team, and people would become overconfident in its ability to do it or become too reliant without still maintaining governance and inspection. Um, and I think that's the area that concerns me, is that we become too reliant on something that's not doing a great job, like racial, ethnic, and gender bias based on bad data. We think it's a diversity mecca, and it's actually going the other way. Well, I hope this document's helpful. Shoot me a message in chat and let me know if you like it or not, because it's something I thought I could keep doing because it gives a good source of data from the conversations we're having. And yeah, I appreciate everyone making time to be here. And thanks for the feedback and the interaction. Great discussion. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to let everyone get back to their day. And thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.